It may not surprise you, since we only have Hamilton on Broadway because of his wife, Eliza. That's the only reason we have Hamilton. We only have a Martin Luther King Day because Coretta fought for it. This is the unspoken history. And we only have Father's Day, in case you didn't know, also because of a daughter. Her name was Sonora Smart Dodd of Spokane, Washington. And she was in church listening to a sermon about Mother's Day. And she felt strongly that fatherhood needed recognition as well. This is about 1910. She wanted a celebration that honored fathers like her own dad, William Smart, who was a Union Civil War veteran, get this, who was left to raise his family alone when his wife died, giving birth to their sixth child. So on June 19th, 1910, she and young members of the Spokane, Washington YMCA, they went to church wearing roses, a red rose to honor a living father, and a white rose to honor a deceased one. And then Miss Dodd traveled through the city in a horse-drawn carriage, carrying roses to shut in fathers. The whole notion of fatherhood deserves, especially in Judaism, I think, a reintroduction. We know about the nurturing aspects of moms, but let me read to you what the Torah says in Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 31. Uvamidbar asher ra'ita asher nesa'acha Adonai Elohecha ka'asher yisa ish et beno. The same word for this week's Torah portion, naso, which means to lift up, to carry. It's the word for the marriage, the wedding ceremonies that we rabbis do, or any of you have been married, it's nisuin, the same. So this is what it says. God carried the Jewish people through the wilderness, this word lifted up, carried, like a father carrying his son. Whatever else God may be, God's attributes are primarily and preeminently like a parent with a loving heart. It was Oscar Wilde who once remarked, when we're young, we idealize our parents. As adolescents, we judge them. When we're older, we understand them. I like to teach God theology in terms of this weekend's subtext, if not Father's Day, parenthood. Imagine a first child, and the first time that child falls down. Imagine being a dad or mom watching that child fall and cry, and then you comfort the child. Maybe that's how God feels when we fall down. You know what I mean? God doesn't intervene because God endowed us with human freedom. Or my grandson's favorite game, peekaboo. Imagine playing peekaboo with a little child and then removing your hands from your face and watching that little child's delight. The aha moment for the child is in that child's discovery that despite the peekaboo, you had been there all along. Might it be this is how it is with God as well? I know several watching may feel very far from God right now. We all do. But maybe when God, the Father, the Mother. Yes, Judaism has 70 names for God. God's called a soul friend. God is called the source of love, the judge, living waters. God is called an El Malei Rachamim, a womb like a mom. And God is called Avinu Malkeinu. You know that. Our Father who art in heaven. Maybe when God removes God's hands from his face and we, God's children, sense the divine mystery that we're not alone, just like peekaboo, that God is there. We need to remind ourselves on a weekend like Father's Day that all the sibling stories in Genesis feature a so-called masculine brother and a brother who isn't that way. Ishmael and Isaac, Esau and Jacob, Joseph and his brothers, just to name a few. Ever notice that in their various rivalries, the tough and warlike brother always loses out in the end to the more peaceful and thoughtful one? And yet, it's not about winners or losers in these Bible stories, no matter what your gender. There is the same sacred ending to these stories in the Torah that most people miss. We study, the minutia, gematria, all these, but the big picture tonight. What is the sacred ending of these stories? The feuding brothers reunite. Ishmael and Isaac are reconciled when they bury their father Abraham. Jacob and Esau, they hug and they cry. Joseph forgives his brothers in Egypt. You saw the Broadway show. Did you know, not in the Broadway show, that the Torah mentions Joseph crying? The Bible mentions his tears 8 times. It's the Bible's way of saying that men need both kinds of masculinities. Toughness, gentility is what comes across. You see, religious masculinity differs from the old Hollywood version. Western culture sends the message, real men don't cry, or that highly offensive phrase, take it like a man. In the Bible, in the Torah, in Judaism, men do cry. Abraham weeps when his wife Sarah dies. This is not midrash. This is not the rabbis. This is in the Torah. Jacob weeps when he meets his beloved Rachel. Esau, the biblical Marlboro man, Esau, he weeps when he realizes that his brother deceived him. And I told you about Joseph. He weeps upon the sight of his brothers. Now, okay, yes, we do have our share of warriors, the Maccabees, King David. But King David is denied building the temple by God in the book of Chronicles because he shed too much blood. He was not worthy. That's why Solomon built the temple. How do we remember King David? With words Eleanor's saying tonight, the book of Psalms. He's in our prayer books in your lap. That's how we remember him. Or the male prophet Zechariah on Hanukkah. What do we say? Not by might, not by power, but by God's Spirit, declares the Lord of hosts. So what's the message coming from our Torah when it's about Father's Day or men? True power is not a fist. It's an open hand. And in anticipating this Shabbat with you and Eleanor, having reached my 3rd decade plus, not only as a rabbi, but as a father and grandfather, this week I recently added to my 2nd will. I'm looking at a dear lawyer friend. I don't mean the one with the life insurance policy. In the event, God forbid, that I leave this world sooner than expected. No, I mean the will that I encourage everyone here and everyone watching to work on and to write for yourselves. It's the Jewish tradition of an ethical will. It's what you want others to remember, not only about you, but about your faith and about what matters. It may be the only way to assure that your values live on. So my ethical will is a work in progress, but one section of it has been inspired by the writer and poet Noah Ben Shea. This section, I just want to read to you some of it. I'm not going to read all of it. We need to move on with the service. But it's going to be called Remembering. To my children and grandchildren, who I love more than life itself, please remember this. Remember that wanting to know everything is okay, but trying everything is not. Remember that being right is important, but reminding others that you are right is not. Remember to listen to the opinion of others, but never, ever forget to listen to yourself. Remember that God is always with you, and that God is never so with you as when you think you are alone. Remember that life can be an unexpected joy, and remember that especially after the rough times. Remember that it is your human right to take what is offered and your Jewish responsibility to give more than you take. Remember that you are strong and vulnerable, and that being vulnerable is a strength. Remember your Jewish past, because it is not past. Please live it today and pass it on to your children tomorrow. Remember that all of those relatives and friends who came ahead of you are cheering for you and will be waiting for you. Remember that for everything you're growing out of, there's even more you'll grow into. Your Jewish heritage teaches it is never too late to grow or grow up. Remember that a leader is not someone who rules over others, but one who lifts up others. Be a leader by lifting up others. Remember that you will make mistakes. Try to make new ones. Remember that to be successful, you must love yourself when you fail. Remember, as you grow older, not to complain that others aren't who they once were, but be prepared to accept them for who they might yet become. Remember, just a few more. Remember from your childhood that often the best view of life's parade comes from sitting on someone else's shoulders. And a giant is anyone who remembers that we are all sitting on someone else's shoulders. Remember to kiss your own children someday, not so they will kiss you back, but so they will kiss their children and their children's children someday. Please remember to put your faith in charge, not your fears. Remember that it's okay to wrestle with God, for that is what the name Israel means. And remember that the need we have to talk with God is God's way of giving us the chance to talk with ourselves. Just two more. I'll leave out the rest. Remember to choose peace over blessing, because any peace you find is its own blessing. And any blessing that does not bring you peace is no blessing. And finally, remember that you will always have my blessing. Please think of the wind as God's breath. And when God has received my last breath, I and your loved ones will be like the wind at your back, urging you on, the breeze on your cheek, drying your tear. The ethical will is an exercise I would encourage all of you to do. Father's Day can be an excuse for it, or Mother's Day, but any day. It's the best way to assure that a parent and family's values live on. I have left with you the greatest gift my father ever gave me, besides his rabbinic wisdom and his undying love. His ethical will is on the other side of the prayer of the mothers Eleanor is now going to offer, reminding us of the strength we receive from great parents.